Alrighty, so it has been a long time since I posted a video. Not going to apologize for it. It's been super busy here in the shop and YouTube just wasn't a priority at the time, so we didn't do anything. And being a one-man show, as always, you know, certain things take priority, and that's usually customer work. So we're trying to get customer work done. But what I wanted to sit down and talk with you guys about today is welding. Obviously, more fab. It's what we do here. We do a lot of welding. And specifically, I want to talk about welding machines and manufacturers and everything else, and try to get all of the stuff in the frame that's behind me here. But the thing you have to remember about welding and welding equipment, especially nowadays, is that there are so many brands available, and there's so many different types available from many different sources like Amazon and online, and just everywhere that you can imagine you can find welding machines. Now, 10 years ago, you had basically two choices. You had your Millers and your Lincolns. That was about it. That was about all that was marketed. That was all you could find. I mean, you could find Lincolns and stuff, Lincolns and Hobarts, I think, at you know, Home Depot and Lowe's and whatnot. And then 5 years ago, a company called Everlast kind of hit the scene, and they blew up. They were inexpensive. They were manufactured in China. However, they were designed in the USA. And there's really good support behind all that, customer service wise and everything else. Their machines are incredible. They work really well. But nowadays, you have an infinite amount of choices when it comes to welders, welding machines, plasma cutters, multi-process machines, all-in-one machines, and it's just ridiculous at this point. And I kind of wanted to shed a little bit of light on the market that's out there, and you know, the things that I've tested out, and what my experiences have been with this new market of just saturated different manufacturers of welding machines. So now, just to give you guys an idea, God, there's got to be 100, 150 manufacturers out there. I mean, you've got your typical Miller, Lincoln, and Hobart. Those machines, they all claim to be made in the USA, but they're actually not. They're assembled elsewhere with USA-made parts. And then you have Everlast, HTP, ATP, YesWelder, Arc Captain, Vulcan, Chicago Electric, and probably hundreds of others that I haven't even gotten into. ESAB, Hypertherm, Thermal Dynamics. There's just tons and tons and tons of manufacturers out there. And the benefit of that is the pricing, right? Because when you've got tons and tons of competition out there, you have to adjust your pricing accordingly, and you have to adjust your quality accordingly to be able to bring that price down. So what I've been seeing over the last few years is Miller and Lincoln have still kept their super high prices, where everybody else has been coming down further and further and further. And it's benefiting you guys. It's benefiting, you know, the DIYer, the home gamer guy. Because before it used to be, you know, if you wanted to weld at home and you had one project that you wanted to get done, you had to spend anywhere from $800 to $1,500 on a welder. You know, my Mig250, which is the welder that I had for years, it was a Miller. That welder was $1,400 brand new. And buying that welder as a DIYer who may only have one or two projects a year that you're going to weld, or you're restoring a car and you're going to use it on the car and that's it, you're kind of losing a ton of money. Why would you spend $1,400 when, you know, you can get what's behind me here, a YesWelder, for $300 or $400? And even at that cost, you will still end up using it more because you don't feel like you're hurting it or devaluing it by using it, because you only paid $400 or $500 for it instead of $1,400 or $1,500. So the real big benefit is that the cost of these particular machines from these Chinese companies is significantly lower than the more name brand stuff. Now, the downfall is finding a company that you can rely upon when it comes to needing service on your machine, or you have an issue and you need to contact the company, or you even want to do something as simple as return a machine that you didn't really need or was broken or whatever. That's where it gets a little tricky. A lot of these companies don't even have websites. I mean, I get contacted on the regular by probably 10 or 15 companies a month that I've never heard of, and they don't even have websites. You know, these are companies who have been manufacturing in China for years and years and years and are trying to break into the United States. But the problem with that is, where's the customer service? Where is the go-to place for technical support? You know, and that's where you're going to kind of lose out when it comes to the pricing battle. You know, with Miller, their customer support it's pretty good. I'd say it's a 7 out of 10. I've had to deal with them on several occasions when I own my Miller machines, and they're not too bad. A little difficult to get a hold of somebody that you need to fix your specific problem, but once you do, they take care of it. Everlast is a good one as well. Their customer service is incredible. I've never dealt with Lincoln customer service, so I don't know. But the machine that we're going to be talking about today, and the company that we're going to be talking about today, is a company that I've now had a relationship with for almost 2 years. And that's YesWelder. I mean, that's what's behind me right now. Now, I'm going to preface this. And yes, guys, this is a review of the YesWelder Mig250 Pro. This company does not, full disclosure, this company does not pay me for these reviews. They do, however, send me the machines for free. So I do get the machines for nothing, but I am not paid to say one thing or another. And truthfully, as you guys have seen in a lot of my other review videos, if I don't like something, you don't even see it. It just gets thrown in the trash because it's not even worth my time to bring you guys a product that's trash. And that happens quite often. So a lot of the OBD scanners, a lot of that crap that I get sent, I just throw it out or I give it away or, you know, whatever, because it's not worth your guys' time. I do feel, however, that YesWelder is something that you guys should know about, because here's the reality of the situation. This is a lot of talking, but you need this information. I weld every day for anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day. The Jeeps, like the one that you can hopefully see behind me, maybe, there is roughly, I would say 1632. There's probably about 50 feet of total weld bead on that entire Jeep. Now, 50 feet of weld bead. Stretch out 50 feet. That's the length of my shop. Run a bead from one end of my shop to the other, and that's how much weld is on that Jeep. I do that every single day with these YesWelder machines. Now, the same goes for the plasma cutting. Plasma cutting, again, 50 feet worth of plasma cutting plus getting rid of all the other junk that's on these Jeeps, whatever. Now, most of these lower cost machines are designed specifically for the DIYer, the home gamer, the person who's going to use this welder once a month to knock out a little project, a railing breaks, or you got a little bit of body work on your car that you're doing or whatever. But I can honestly tell you, and I'll show you when I show you this machine. I've had this machine behind me for a month, and I'll show you how disgusting this machine is right now. And then maybe even I'll show you the 205 DS that I semi-retired when I got the 250. I beat these things, and I use them every day in basically a production environment, and they're not meant for that. And they still hold up, and they've been holding up. And YesWelder, I can honestly say, is one of the companies that personally I would vouch for when it comes to quality of their machines and reliability of their machines. I wouldn't say that they're the best when it comes to fit and finish. I wouldn't say that they're the best when it comes to technical support or customer service, because they are an overseas company and it's hard to find any sort of US-based technical support for these machines. However, you do run into the fact that, okay, you're paying $500 for a machine that would cost you $2,000 from Miller. So you kind of weigh the options there of, you know, do I need the technical support? Do I need the huge warranties? Do I need all of this other stuff when I'm only paying $500 for the machine? You could use it twice and throw it in the garbage and it would pay for itself. So that's kind of the model that we've gone to in the welding industry with equipment, is that it's disposable. And yeah, sure, you buy a Miller and you know for a fact that that Miller is going to last you as the lifetime that you need it. You buy a YesWelder, and thus far, in 2 years, I have not yet broken one of these pieces of equipment from YesWelder. And again, like I said, I use them every single day for 8 hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week. Most times it's 5 days a week. So these things have 40 hours on them every week. So in a month, I've welded with this machine behind me for 160 hours straight. And it hasn't skipped a beat. Hadn't skipped a beat at all. So what I'm going to do in this video today is, now that you guys kind of have a really quick overview of what is going on in the welding equipment industry, and an idea of what's out there, you know, there's different things you can check out. You know, you can look for those cheap welders. If you're someone new that's just trying to get into welding, check out YesWelder, man. Their stuff is inexpensive. And I wouldn't say it's cheap, but it's inexpensive. And that's great when you're first starting out, you know, because then you can move up to something that's a little bit more expensive. And, you know, if you need to have the blue or the red in your corner, you know, you can do that too. But at the same point, you're going to get the same job done with these as you are with the others. So let's get over. I'll show you this machine real quick. We're not really going to be doing any welding in this video. I may throw in a couple of clips that I have from recently, but you guys have all seen me weld with a MIG welder a million times, and I don't need to show you again. This welder welds amazing. I can show you some welds that I actually did with it, which I'll do, and we'll go from there. But for right now, let me take you guys over here, and we'll show you the old black YesWelder Mig250 Pro, and you can make your own assumptions on whether or not you want to buy this thing. Head over to YesWelder's website, check it out. If you use code MOREFAB when you check out, you do get 10% off, which is always awesome. You know, they really take care of my viewers. All right, guys, so this is the YesWelder Mig250 Pro, and you can tell because of the way that it is. This is a neat welder. This is a 250 amp, 230, 220, 230 volt only welder. It's not a dual voltage, it's 230 volt only. So you do have to have that running for it. Now, this machine has a beautiful digital readout underneath, and in a second we'll turn it on, but we'll go over. It's got a nice 250 amp MIG torch. It's got a really pretty heavy duty ground clamp that has some good tension to it. We'll talk about those two things a little bit later, because those are some of the areas that I think we need to improve on with this machine. It does hold a full 10 or 12 pound spool, and it does have a quick reference chart here for all the codes that can show up on the front of the machine. But anyway, inside there is where the actual wire feed mechanism is, and everything is actually built pretty well. Now, one of the things that YesWelder has always kind of flaked on a little bit here is the fit and finish. I mean, this stuff doesn't really matter. It doesn't hurt the functionality of the welder, but you know, you do have the doors kind of concave in there, and then it kind of pokes out here. But I found, you know, you just take this guy and give it a little tweak, and there you go. No problem. But that's the thing that you're going to get for 500 bucks. You know, you're going to get fit and finish issues that you can correct. Obviously, there's no real major issue. It still opens up just fine and closes just fine, and now it's nice and tight. You don't have to worry about it. All it took was a couple of seconds to bend. And now here's what I was talking about. You see all this crap on top of the welder? This is what I put these things through. They are full of rust and dust and burn marks and everything else that you can imagine, and yet they still go strong. I mean, you can see the level of rusty dust that ends up inside these machines from what I do. And for these machines to operate like they do, you see all the little burn marks in the door here and everything else. For these to operate the way that they do through what I put them through, when it is 100% not designed to do what I'm doing with it, it's impressive. It really is impressive. So there's the front of the machine. And then the back of the machine, you have your power cord, your power switch, and your gas inlet. And then a nice little fan that runs when this thing's operating. And now for what I think is probably the best part of this particular welder is all of the settings that you can run. There we go. You may or may not be able to hear that fan. It is kind of loud, but whatever, you're welding. You don't need the fan. So currently, I have this thing set to manual mode where I can adjust wire speed. And I can also adjust my voltage. So I go to V, and then I can adjust my voltage. And I can do this all manually, which is one thing that I was complaining, well, not complaining, but suggesting to YesWelder for a long time, was that they come out with a MIG welder that doesn't just have, you know, you set the amperage and it automatically sets the wire speed for you. They call it their synergy system, which this one has as well. You can set the mode to synergy. You see that turn to an S. And now, as we adjust the current or the amperage, it'll automatically adjust our voltage and it automatically adjusts our wire speed for us on the fly. So being able to do that, and then you have, of course, your stick welding mode, you have a flux core mode, and your manual mode. And then also over here too, you can select the type of wire that you're using. We can do 30 thousandths, we can do 23 thousandths, or 35 thousandths is with what we use. And then the material button, which is right here, will select whether you're doing, you know, regular steel, stainless steel, flux core welding, or aluminum. And this machine actually comes with a spool gun as well. So being that it comes with a spool gun, you're free to weld aluminum with it. You do have to use 100% argon though. We're currently using an argon CO2 mix for our MIG welding, but you can use 100% argon, and you can utilize a spool gun and weld aluminum with it. So the machine has a ton of functionality. Now we can sit here and go through all the modes. We'll keep it in synergistic mode, 035 wire, and then if we hit that, we can adjust all the different current settings. There, we can adjust arc length, which will give us the ability to kind of adjust how quickly the wire comes out of the machine on initial startup, and what arc length we're using so that the wire doesn't spit and pop and fart and all the other stuff. We do have the ability to adjust the current and the arc length in synergy mode. And then if we take it out of synergy mode and we go to manual, we can then adjust, like I said, our speed, wire speed, and then we can adjust our voltage. And then if we go back to synergy mode and we press the menu button, then we have inductance that we can adjust. We have, so we basically have a ton of functions here. Inductive steps, inching, wire inching. There's a ton of stuff here. And like I said, it's all in that code right there. So you can kind of get an idea where you're going. But it gives you the ultimate ability to literally adjust this thing like you would any pro welder, like any Miller, any super expensive Miller or ESAB or HTP or any one of those. You'll be able to go ahead and adjust this thing any way that you need it. And normally I either run it in synergy. All right, so let's try this again, because my camera keeps overheating because it's a freaking 100 degrees outside. But I normally run this machine in synergy mode. Synergy mode makes it easy. You just kind of adjust your amperage to what you need for the type of metal that you're welding. But in certain cases where the metal's a little bit more rusty, I do like to go into manual mode. And manual mode will give me the option to adjust as necessary, whether I need to adjust my wire speed to get a little bit more bite in some rusty metal, get a little bit more metal in there a little quicker so that I'm not blowing metal away. There's a lot of reasons, a lot of things that I like that particular function. So awesome to YesWelder. Thank you so much for listening and actually creating a welder that had manually adjustable settings. Now, I won't get into the rest of the settings because those are, you know, you really need to be doing some crazy stuff with it to even utilize those settings. The inductance setting is amazing with these inverter machines. I tend to use the inductance setting a lot for, again, welding on this rusty stuff. You know, if you've got nice, clean, clear, polished metal, welding is easy. If you've got metal that's got, you know, 15, 20 years of rust on it, it makes things a little bit more difficult. So this machine will power right through it all. And you know, with having those extra settings in there, it really helps me kind of dial in exactly what I need. But this machine so far has been great. So let's show you quick what the spool gun looks like. And for those of you that don't know what a spool gun is, that's a spool gun. So basically what a spool gun does, ooh, look at that, we got a nice little prop that we can put it up there with. So basically what a spool gun does is you put your spool of wire in here, and it feeds down to this feed mechanism that's right in here, and it falls on the floor. It feeds out right here, and you can see this is a 150 amp spool gun. The reason that these are so great is because with aluminum, if you're welding aluminum, trying to push aluminum material through this entire 12 feet of welding torch, the material gets bound up inside, causes all kinds of problems. You do have to change the inner liner from what it currently is to a Teflon liner to be able to push aluminum through there. Your feeder has a hard time pushing it through. It can bunch up at the feeder. It's just a huge pain. So when you're doing aluminum, it's nice to have a spool gun. And what's really cool about the spool gun is it literally has this guy right here, and that guy just plugs in place of your MIG gun, and then your spool gun operates. It's a great system, and it's a great thing to have. And especially at the price point where this welder's at, it's quite amazing. Because considering for a miller, that spool gun is almost $1,000 by itself. Then you have to buy the welder that's spool gun compatible, and that's super expensive. And just so you guys are aware, the camera is making the numbers on the welder do that. They don't do that on the welder. I'm not seeing that, but you can see it on the camera kind of doing one of these. It doesn't do that in person, just so you know. So yeah, this welder comes with the welder itself, the MIG torch, the ground cable, the spool gun. It comes with all sorts of extra accessories, different size wheels for the spool gun, different size wheels for the feeder, for the wire feeder. It comes with some extra welding tips. It comes with the full instruction manual and a few other odds and ends. And it's just overall, like I said, I've been using it for a month, and it's been overall a great welder. The only thing that I have, and I told you guys that I would give you the cons to this particular welder. The issue that I have with it is, one, this ground clamp. Although it's good right now, on my other welder, it bent right here, and you can see it already starting to kind of bend a little bit right there. It bent, and I had to actually unbend it. The metal that they use is super, super cheap. However, the copper that they use in there, pretty good stuff. But I'd like to see an upgraded clamp on this ground. The second thing is their welding torches. Now, if I have one major complaint about YesWelder, it's the welding torches. Now, this is a larger 200 amp, 250 amp MIG torch. But the issue that I run into with these things all the time is that I'm constantly pushing them at 200, 220 amps, 185 amps, and welding massive beads with these things. Long runs, long duty cycle runs, the whole nine. And while the welder has never failed, it's never even gone into heat protection, or I've never gone past the duty cycle to where it had to shut down. What does happen to me is this: the tips. I melt everything. This tip right now is currently just completely melted, and you can see all the material that's in there. That's all plastic from this nozzle. And what ends up happening is I burn the plastic on the nozzles. The nozzles don't want to stay on anymore, and then ultimately it causes an issue where it gets hot up in here, it burns all this off, and then it burns back into the torch. That is the only quality issue that I would say YesWelder needs to come up on a little bit. However, to kind of, you know, kill that notion for you guys, if you're using this welder the way that it was intended to be used, you're never going to have this problem. What I'm doing with it, it's not made for that. Any production welder is going to have a much more stout torch. It's going to have a very, very good resistance to high heat, high temperatures, and long welding. It's going to be made mostly of metal, very little plastic involved, and it's going to be completely different from what you've got here. Again, even though this says it's a pro welder, as far as production goes and using it every day at very high amperages, the torch just can't keep up. The machine does, no problem, but the torch can't keep up with it. So those are the two things that I say YesWelder would need to improve, for me anyway, is the ground clamp and the torch. Other than that, this machine is absolutely incredible. It's been great. All right, guys, so here are some of the welds that we've managed to produce with this machine. And see if we can get some better light on it for you there. There we go. So they look pretty nice, you know, not too bad. And just remember, I mean, you know, we're getting that decent of a weld on that kind of material. So definitely struggling to get some stuff going here, but for the most part, we can make this stuff look pretty nice. And I mean, even if we walk over to the other side, hopefully do this before the GoPro overheats again. You know, this is the other side, and we've still got some pretty nice weld bead going on down through here. And again, you know, this is on rusty, crusty garbage that we just cleaned up enough so that we could actually weld on it. Filled in some holes and did a few other odds and ends. So not too bad overall. This is a good little machine. All right, my GoPro is not happy at all today, so I'm hoping that this video actually comes out good and it's something that I can post up and not have to refilm a sixth time because it's been crazy. But I hope that gives you a bit of an idea on what's out there for welding equipment. I hope it gives you an idea on what's out there for YesWelder equipment. If you head over to YesWelder.com, I guarantee you that they have what you need as far as welders when it comes to MIG, stick, TIG, everything else. I'm trying to get them to come out with a really nice TIG welder, see if we can get something to actually TIG weld with. But for the time being, I've used 3 of their MIG welders, 2 of their plasma cutters, and nothing has failed me yet. And this is going on an almost 2-year relationship now that I've had these things, and we're not having any problems with any of them aside from the minor issues with the torches and the ground clamps. But again, that's all stuff that I'm doing to it. I'm putting it through abuse that it's not designed to deal with. So with that being said, they're holding up pretty good. And, you know, I highly recommend you go check them out if you're in the market for an inexpensive welder and not a cheap welder, because there's a difference between the two. Inexpensive doesn't cost you a lot of money, but performs as it should. Cheap doesn't cost a lot of money, but it doesn't perform anywhere near what you were looking for. So head over to YesWelder, use my code MOREFAB for a discount at checkout, and I hope to see you guys welding soon. So as you can see around the shop, there's a ton of things going on. We got projects directly behind me. We got projects above me. We got projects to the left, projects to the right. We got all kinds of stuff going on. So I'm hoping to get more videos out for you guys. We got air conditioning being installed in the shop this weekend, so that's going to be incredible. And we just got a ton of stuff to go through. I'm hoping I can find somebody to come and help me film, hoping I can find somebody to come and help me work, because again, I'm by myself and I have enough work to basically end out the year without taking in any new work. So it's been crazy here. It's been absolutely crazy here. So I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one, which hopefully will be in a week or so. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate all you guys. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, shoot a comment down below whether, you know, you hate these videos, you love these videos, thank you, F you, whatever it may be. Shoot it down there in the comments. It all helps. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great day. And if you're in an area of the country where it's 1,000,000 degrees right now like I am, stay cool, stay safe, and have a great rest of your day.